Hello and welcome again to this release webinar. Before I talk about the Learncycles, I would like to talk about the other feature enhancements. So you can now generate your reports through the agent logbooks. You can also send in emails. You can create your own custom agent contracts, promotional info, agent appreciation certificates, and other management documents from within the agent logbook. So if you go into organizations, look for an agent and click on the logbook, you should now see 4 different options to add file note, create a task, or generate a U report or send an email. And when you click on send an email or generate your report, you should also have the ability to choose from within the email templates that you've set up under the settings email templates. Now, this feature is only available for our premium clients. If you don't see the additional functionality there, do contact us and we can do a demo of the premium edition for you. This is only for New Zealand customers. The fees-free eligibility status now supports new values, 8, 9, and 0. The eligibility check feature in the learner section has also been updated to set this appropriately. The SDR will then report the selected value. You'd also see the fees-free export option, which has been added to the export section under the reports. So one other feature that we've released with the Learncycles was the list. So lists have been introduced to group records by type. So this is a new way to segment your records, which allows you to more easily view and work with specific groups of course offers. So you can create a group, just like the way I've shown here, called funded enrollments, and you can choose all your funded course offers and move it into the selected column and save a list, which then can be linked into Learncycles. So this has mainly been released now for the Learncycles. So it will be added to other sections of WiseNet very soon. So if you have any feedback, we would love to hear them. So feel free to log tickets and let us know what else you would like to create a list for. At the moment, it's only available for grouping course offers. All right, now let's talk about the Learncycles. So what we have released and, of course, what changes. So we have enhanced basically the user experience, the scheduling tool, and the overall management of the Learncycle. So previously, you could definitely schedule any activities, but they couldn't have longer schedules into the future. Now, not just emails, but any activity can be scheduled with longer schedules. As well as you can configure all your Learncycles in one place. You don't have to create a Learncycle per course offer. You can search for a Learncycle now. Previously, you couldn't search for Learncycles. You can add and manage your Learncycle audience easily through the list. So I was talking to you about the list in the previous slide. So you can group your course offers and create your own list and add one or more lists to Learncycle. So you don't have to create the Learncycle per course offer or per learner type. We've improved the warnings that we show for any invalid trigger conditions. So just while you're setting up the Learncycle itself, the system will tell you, so it's intelligent to kind of identify if the activity can be triggered or not. So it's going to tell you if that condition will match and if it will be triggered in the future. We're also planning to include more activities. So this new enhancement will also allow us to easily add these extra activities like SMS and other things in the future. Now, let's talk about your migration. So I will be scheduling another webinar next week to talk more about the migration. But if you go into settings and Learncycles now, you will see a new tab there, a warning giving you a heads up and also giving you a button to begin your migration wizard. Now, there are a couple of things that you have to consider before you can start this migration. So basically, We've definitely designed the migration wizard to simplify the process for you and, allow you to focus one step at a time. However, it's always best to actually go understand the new learn cycles, create the new learn cycles, and then come in to begin the migration wizard. Because if you look at it, once you click on that button, it's going to tell you like what's recommended. So we do have an article on the migration, and we do kind of ask you to create your new learn cycles. So what the wizard does is it puts all your old learn cycles to inactive and activates your new learn cycles. You can't have both the old and new activated at the same time. So let's take an example that you've already created your new learn cycle. Then in that case, you can always just click on I've acknowledged that and I've created, reviewed everything, and you just confirm the migration. And as I said, we'll go in detail about the migration when I go into WiseNet and show you how this works. But for now, I'm just going to continue on to kind of talk more about the learn cycle features itself. Before I look at the questions that you've already put into the Q&A box, I'm just going to answer these two main questions here. So you may have a question, why can't you have both old and new learn cycles running at the same time? So this is mainly to prevent multiple activities triggering at the same time, So you could be creating very similar triggers with your new learn cycles, and you don't want it to be sending out all these emails and tasks multiple times for the same event. So you can only trigger the new learn cycles once the old learn cycles have been migrated and turned off. And what if you don't migrate? Now that's a tricky one. Obviously the new learn cycles that we have created uses new technology, and it's a brand new logic thing. So the old learn cycles will be turned off on a nominated date. We don't have a date yet, but it will be soon. So what this will mean is, if you don't migrate by then, we will be setting all your old learn cycles to inactive, which will disable any scheduled learn cycles, basically. So just to avoid this situation, we highly recommend you create new learn cycles and complete the migration as soon as possible. This will also mean that you can avail all these new enhancements that we have added into the new learn cycles. All right, I'm going to quickly look at the questions now before I start talking about the new learn cycles. All right, that's good. I forgot to mention, keep my colleagues on the line, so he's helping me with the questions and stuff there. Now, to build your new learn cycles, there are 4 main building blocks. I call them as building blocks because it's kind of, that's the way they work, So they need to be carefully configured to ensure the automation does not accidentally trigger any activities that you don't want to trigger. So the old learn cycles have definitely worked well, but we have redesigned the learn cycle interface and functionality based on all the valued feedback that we have received from you guys, which has definitely resulted in this more powerful feature. So as I mentioned, the 4 building blocks would definitely be the activities, the trigger conditions, trigger date, and the audience. So when you start thinking about these learn cycles, start thinking about what activities do you want to send out? What's the trigger condition and date on which you want to send it out? And who are your audience? Do you want to send it for all course offers or just specific course offers? So these are some of the things that you want to think about. And the way we've designed is, if you look at the activities, you can either get the learn cycle to create a task, send an email, send an SMS, which is coming soon, generate a U-report document, that could be a training plan, an offer letter, or you can update certain learner and course enrollment fields like the learner app access or sync to zero, or their Moodle access if you're using e-learning and other things. So these are the main activities that you can trigger using a learn cycle. Now, after you've decided what activities you want to use, you need to think about the trigger conditions. So with the trigger conditions, there are 3 different trigger conditions available for a premium customer, but for a standard client, you can only trigger upon enrollment. So you'll see only one condition, which is when course enrollment is created, but for premium clients, you have access to 2 more. So you can either trigger the activity upon enrollment or at a defined enrollment status, which could be current, inquiry, pending, anything, or a defined status for reason value, which is kind of customizable. So you can define the value. It is not predefined in the system. Then you think about the trigger date. Again, we've given you 2 options here. You can either trigger the learn cycle immediately as soon as the trigger conditions have reached, or at a scheduled date. And of course, you will add the logic to the learn cycle. For example, you can have it a day after the course enrollment start date. We've also introduced new date logics in there, so you can schedule it on a status change date or on a creation date, because the student start date may be a month after, but you may be creating the enrollment today and you may want to trigger things from today. So we have added different dates into the trigger date logic as well. And then finally, you think about your audience. And as I said, with the audience, it's up to you guys whether you want to trigger that learn cycle for all the course offers. If you are creating a learn cycle, for example, for learner satisfaction survey, that means every student, irrespective of the course that they're enrolling into, have to complete that survey. In that case, you don't need to have a filter for your audience. You can just send it out to all course offers. Or you can have a learn cycle that is specific to certain course offers, which is based on lists. So you'll have to create a list and then link that list to the learn cycles. And you can have multiple course offers within the list. Now, what I've also done is kind of put in some scenarios in here, and we have added these scenarios to our articles as well. So go into our Learn resources and look at the different use cases that we've added in there, just to give you a bit of an understanding of how it can be used. So this is an example of what you can create at the creation level. So with the trigger, when course enrollment is created, you can immediately trigger a task for the enrollment officer to check the checklist, send an email to the trainer to discuss any training needs with the student, generate a training plan and send it as an email to the learner as well as the trainer, or even a workplace contact or an agent, up to you guys. And then with the learner and the course enrollment updates, you can update one or many fields that I've put in here. So this is just an example. Or another scenario would be when a course enrollment status is inquiry. A week after the course enrollment status change date, you're kind of sending an email to the learner saying, hey, you inquired about the course a week ago and we have not received any response, etc. So you can have your own email template that is linked to this. Or you can have something to the academic officer, a task. As you can see in here, I've just given an example to show you that you could have a learn cycle that is set to trigger a day after the course enrollment start date, but the due date for that task could be way in the future. So as soon as the student begins the course, you can set up these tasks for the training manager or the academic officer or the trainer to check the course progress of their student every couple of months or every quarter. So these are some of the examples that, just to get you started. So what we kind of recommend is to start with, just go back to your whiteboard, start drawing out your processes, see, again, which activities will work for you, what are the trigger conditions, the dates, as well as, if you want to send it to all course offers or just certain course offers. So these are the things that you need to think about before you can go and start creating your learn cycles. And take this new learn cycle as, let's say, a new way to rethink your old learn cycle, because I know some of you have started using those learn cycles and you're using them really well, but this is kind of way more intelligent and way more efficient, because you don't have to create it per course software, as I said. So just rethink the entire process and start creating your new learn cycles. And once you're happy with it, you can then migrate from the old to new. What we've also done is created, we built a report, 941. I'll show you that report when I go into WiseNet, which will give you kind of a total count, and you can match the number of activities from old to new, just to give you a heads up of, if all the learn cycles have been created in the new learn cycle format, or if you're missing something, you can quickly have a look. And the course of dashboard as well will have two different tabs, one for old learn cycle and the new learn cycle. It'll have a small count on the dashboard page to tell you how many old learn cycles were there, and you can compare it with the new ones that you've created now. All right, now if you have any further questions after the webinar, feel free to log a support ticket, chat with us within the LRM. So you can just click on that orange thing that you see at the bottom right, or give us a call on 1300 365 384. Now, before I go into LRM and show you how to set these learn cycles up, let me know if you have any questions. Just feel free to either just raise your hand or put it into the Q&A box. All right, I have a quick question here. How about when we have different information for each course offer? For example, each course contains different attachments. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, you can have multiple lists with just that one course offer, or over the years, let's say, you've created one course offer for Dip of Business 2019 batch, and next year you may have a 2020 batch, a 2020 dip batch, and then 2021 you have another Diploma of Business batch. Instead of you creating a new list, you already have a learn cycle there, which is triggering for the Dip of Business. You're just linking the new course offer into that list, and you don't have to change the learn cycles, it's going to trigger even for the 2021 batch. So that's the way it's been created. I'll show it to you in a minute. All right, so this is just our demo system. You just ignore any demo data. We might have given funny names and used funny courses and things like that, so just ignore that bit. To start off with, I'm going to show you the lists. So once you click on the list at the top, you'll be able to, of course, click on Learn More, and it'll take you into our resources. Click on Add New List. I'll give you an example of funded enrollments. So just say funded course enrollments, and you can just copy or have multiple lists. So just copy the description and put it in here if required. And as I said, at the moment, there's only one section, so you only see course offer in there. You can give it a small description and save. Once you save the list, it'll ask you what course offers do you want to add to the list. So you can filter by code, description, or date. At the very bottom, go save once you've chosen the course offers. So now you have a list called funded course enrollments, and it just has those course offers. And coming in to answer your question, you may have different intakes within the same course. Obviously, the material that's going to that particular enrollment list within that course offer is going to be the same, and you can have multiple intakes within the same list. And you can even have lists by courses, so you can have one called business course offer, the other one could be like painting and deck, etc. Yep, no worries. Okay, so now Before I go and show you the Learncycles, let me just quickly go into the agent logbook. So organization, agent. When you go into any agent, on the left you have logbook. So you can now generate your report. And the templates have to be created and uploaded into reports, your report templates. And we do have a generic template called agent contract that you can use. So you can run the your report as well as email it out to the agent. And if it is just an email that you're sending out, just go action and send email. All right, now let me take you into the office. So I've included this particular course offer into a list. So when you look at that course offer, it'll show you that it's being linked to that particular list, and of course you can click on it and it'll take you to the list tab. But what I wanted to show you was on the dashboard, it'll show you the 6 old Learncycles and 6 new Learncycles, just to compare. And on the left, you'll have 2 different tabs, one for new Learncycles and one for the old. And clicking on any of these links will show you what are the different Learncycles linked to that particular offer. Okay. Now let's go into the settings. And I'm going to go into Learncycles new. So you don't have to create Learncycles through offers now. You can go into settings, Learncycles. And as I said, do not migrate until you have the new Learncycles in place. And we'll talk more about the migration in our next webinar, which is coming up next week. You'll receive an email regarding the registration links and other things in an email soon. So now let's go ahead and create a new Learncycle. I'll take the same example that I showed you in the slide. So we'll probably give it a name. I'll do the current process. So you can call it current course enrollment, or you can say enrollment tasks. Up to you how you want to name it. And you want the trigger condition to be when the status is current. And you can have another condition with the status reason if you have any reasons that have been set up in the system. If not, just have one. Then 2 different types. You can either immediately trigger it as soon as the status is current, or so you can have a week or a day before or after, and these are the different dates. So previously you couldn't do it on a status change date. So let's say, you have a process in the business where you, as soon as an application comes in, you enroll the student with the status of inquiry. But as soon as the inquiry goes to current, that's when you want to trigger this. So that's when you go status change date or status reason change date. So it's up to you what date will suit. And the creation date is obviously when the enrollment was created. And this works well when you're doing inquiry tasks. So as soon as a student has been put in as an inquiry, let's say for 2 months you don't hear anything from the student, so you can put in a Learncycle to say 2 months after the creation date, if the status is still staying at inquiry, trigger an email. And this could either be sent to all course offers or individual course offers that you've set up in the list. And and you can have multiple lists in here. So once you have the condition and the audience set, save and add the activity. And if you're not ready with the email templates or the Euro report templates, you can even save the learn cycle and come back and add the activity later. And under the activity, these are the different options you have. So I'm going to take an example of sending an email to the learner's email address. And if you're dealing with a workplace contact or an agent, you can CC them as well. So previously the reply to was only to a configured email address that you kind of set up under the portal settings. But now you can allow them to reply to other email addresses. So if it is, let's say, something related to training and you want the reply going back to the trainer, you can even put the trainer's email address for that particular course into that learn cycle. Or if you want it to be coming back to student services, but also like an info, you will be copying and pasting the student services as well as the info email. So you can have multiple emails in here. All right, and then you choose from within a message template. I'm just choosing random templates and stuff here, so just ignore things that I'm choosing, but that's the way you can do it. And then you can go save and add another. Go with the configured one for now. Then let's say you want to create a task for an internal staff member. In, I don't know, 4 months' time. This could be high priority, not started and assigned to a particular staff member there. You can even put in like assigned by, put in a short description, and if there are any documents to be filled in or forms, you can drag and drop it in there as an attachment, and then have a due date. And this would be 4 months after the creation date. So after 4 months, if the student is still staying as inquiry, it's going to create a task for that particular person to follow up. And this could be the only 2 activities that you want to add for now. And then that's it. That's one learn cycle. And you can go back and add more. So you can have multiple learn cycles for different processes within the business. So all your day-to-day workflows can be automated using the Learn Cycles now, and yeah, it's pretty easy to set up as well. All right, so if you go into our Learn resources, so just click on the release notes. I'm sure you've already had a read through this. So if you go into our Learn Cycle articles, so we have instructions on how you can add Learn Cycles, test Learn Cycles, but if you just scroll down a bit, we have use case scenarios which can also be accessed just by clicking on this. So we've just given some examples in here just to get you started, very similar to the ones that I've put into the slides today in my presentation. So just have a read through, and if you have any complicated scenarios that you're not able to work out, feel free to just contact us and pick up the phone and give us a call, and we're here to help you. Yeah, we can work together and set them up in the system, or even kind of, you know, show you how to set one up. We can do it in your application itself in sort of our demo system, and you can see it working. Now at the very bottom, we also have like a best practice and go live article to get you started on the things that, you know, you need to think about before you can start this process. And we always recommend you create like dummy course offers and a test list, so you're not triggering anything out to your real students. But as I said, with your new Learncycles, it anyways wouldn't trigger without you migrating your old to new. And we've forced this just to ensure that, you're not sending out multiple emails, things that you don't want to send out to your students just yet. And that's the reason we have put that thing on. And then when you're ready, do the migration and you'll all be up and ready with your new Learncycles. And with the migration article, again, this article will help you with understanding the new Learncycles, how you can set them up for your course offers. And this is the bit that I was talking about. So we've created this report called 941, just to help you compare your old and the new Learncycles. So once you have both created, you can run the report to see what are the missing Learncycles, or if you've configured something incorrectly, if the trigger conditions are wrong. So this will quickly help you with that. When everything's set and you see everything's ready with the new Learncycles, feel free to go and hit the migration wizard and confirm the migration. All right, that's mainly what I wanted to show you today. Have a great weekend. Thank you for joining me on a Friday. So yeah, enjoy your new Learncycles, and I'll see you in the next webinar. Thank you, bye.